All right, good afternoon, guys. It is 1 o'clock here. Ready to go over stuff on the digestive system. So that's what we were talking about, our new topic. Hopefully, you had a chance to watch the video with Mr. Candelou and I down at camp on the digestive system. So looks like I'm still waiting for some people here. So please say here if you'd like to. All right, getting some messages here. Using two computers, so bear with me here. Okay. I want to talk about the digestive system, kind of go over some things I was talking about earlier today on our lecture on the processes of the digestive system, the functions, and your assignment. So kind of be going over a few things here. So this is the time to check in with me. If you have any questions on what you're doing for this week through email, I've been on Microsoft Teams with you guys here too. So just double checking who's in here. So it looks like a couple people say hi or good afternoon. Hopefully, you guys, just so I can see who's in here. Right, still waiting for a few more people. And then I'll get started kind of going over the functions of the digestive system on our lecture. So just waiting on a few people here. It's like only got one person in here. And you could go back and watch the morning session too. Usually about the first 20 minutes or so, 20 minutes, 20 to 20 minutes to a half hour is kind of where I'll present first. Okay, looks like we got somebody here. All right, Kane. Okay, yeah, I remember you. Yeah, you're the ones that you're the student that likes tigers. I remember that. Okay, very cool. All right. Who else do we have here? Miss Vicente and Chris. Excellent. Hello. Hi, guys. Thanks for checking in with me. If you have any questions, you could just write your questions on that chat room there too. I'm going to talk about the digestive system and the parts and its functions, and then go over your assignment on what you need to do for this week for Friday. Do Friday. You have a brain pop to do, will be one thing. I assigned all this classes brain pop on digestive system along with the vocabulary. There's 10 questions that go with that. And your project will be doing a travel brochure. Okay, a travel brochure is something that kind of tells you where things are at, and where to go for people that are traveling, like go on vacation. So you're going to be talking about how food travels through all the parts of the body, starting with the mouth, going through the stomach and esophagus and stomach, intestines, and then out as waste. And you're going to relate that to how a travel brochure, like you're going on vacation and you're planning things to do and what to see and where to go. So you're going to make it kind of creative. You could do it on a piece of paper. You could do it as a foldable. You could take a picture of it, send it to me on an email. All right, looks like we got a few more people in here right now. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on some things on the lecture on digestive system. So that's what we're focusing on this week. We're going to do all the body systems from here till probably close to the end of the year. So that's kind of where we're at with our curriculum. We did cells and plants. We kind of covered those things, and now we're talk about a body's part, our body system for each of the systems for each week as we go towards the end of the year here. Okay, Chris, you're tagged through Microsoft Teams. Yes, I'm on Microsoft Teams. I will be also stating the project on there and some of the guidelines, which will be due on Friday there for that. Okay, I'll be on the lookout for it today and tomorrow. Okay, so going on to the digestive system. The digestive system prepares food for use for all body cells in the body. Okay, so starting out with digestion, there is the chemical breakdown of complex biological molecules in their components or parts, and these are the breakdowns of lipids to fatty acids, proteins to amino acids, which are protein, and carbohydrates into simple sugars. Okay, so those are just some things relating to some of the components we talked on cells. Okay, amino acids, proteins, we talk about proteins and amino acids. That's where you get the protein inside the cell, like from the mitochondria. ATP is stored in the mitochondria. All right, and then carbohydrates also help out with energy and so on. All right. Any other questions here? Chloe's here. Okay, excellent. Thanks for checking in as well. All right. Just I keep going back and forth to check my sidebar there too. All right. The function. There's a couple main functions of the digestive system. It produces various chemicals to break down the food that you eat, and it filters out harmful wastes. Okay, and it gets rid of solid waste when you excrete waste and go to the bathroom. So those are the three main functions. It's the breakdown of food, it filters out harmful substances, and it gets rid of solid waste. Those are the three main functions of the digestive system. So digestive system starts in when you're eating something. If you saw the video with Mr. Canaloo and I had some food on that tray in camp that we were refilmed. I think I had an apple. I think I had a pear. I think I had some steak on there. They were made up food, but I was pretending to eat those. All right. Changes there when you're chewing and you're eating. You're chewing, you're tearing, you're grinding, you're mashing, you're mixing that food in your mouth, and it changes the physical form of food. Okay, where it becomes a lot smaller. Okay, it doesn't look like that when you're eating it. Obviously, just don't put it in your mouth. It comes out looking like an apple, but it's like you have to break that food down, and you use the saliva in your mouth, and that's going to be the part of the mechanical going into the chemical digestion part. So mechanical is cutting, chewing, tearing when you're mashing and mixing that food in your mouth. Now, the chemical digestion is actually the process which is changes the chemical composition of the food with the digestive enzymes. That's the protein, carbohydrates, and lipids. All right, the digestive enzymes are special proteins that help break down the large molecules of the food into tiny molecules so they could be absorbed and used in the cells to form as a form of nutrition to get energy for your bodies. Okay, so that is the chemical digestion part. Any other questions here? Okay, we got Gus, we got Chloe, we got Chris. Good job. We got Kane and Vicente so far that I've seen in here right now. So good job for checking in, guys. Any other questions? You can just write your answer or your questions on the chat live there, so I can see that. All right. So good job. So I'm going to continue on with talking about digestion here. Now, there's a few phases of digestion. The first phase is ingestion, taking it in, ingesting something, okay? Then there's the movement of it after it's broken down from your teeth and your tongue before it's pushed down. That's the movement of it, okay? So it's taken in, then it's moved, then it starts the digestion process going into the stomach. Then it goes into absorption within the small intestines, which we'll talk about there today. And then finally it goes out for further digestion there as solid waste. So those are some of the phases of digestion, okay? All right, so I'm going to continue on going here. As like I said, keep going back and forth. All right, the digestive tract is a long muscular tube with many sections or areas. Okay, it begins with the mouth and it ends with your out through the anus. So that's or the rectum. That's the areas where it begins and goes. Okay, we're talking about the travel of food from start to finish because our bodies have to absorb this. All right, the parts of the digestive tract are the mouth. Okay, the pharynx, which is the part of the throat, like the flap in the throat, and the esophagus, the stomach, the small intestine, and the large intestine. We're going to talk about each one of those parts and the way food travels down each one of those areas. Okay, so the digestive tract, those are the main functions, or those are the main organs that we're going to study here, and those are going to be the organs that you're going to research on when you do your project there too, along with some of the other organs that help break down the food in this process. We call those accessory organs. These are the main organs, but then there's some accessory organs that help this or aid this process too. So the mouth, pharynx, esophagus, stomach, small and large intestines are the 5 main or 6 main characteristics or parts of the digestive system. Okay, some of the accessory parts, just like I was mentioned, are your teeth. Okay, in your mouth, your tongue, salivary glands, where you get saliva from. Okay, liver, gallbladder, and pancreas. Those are also good to include in your project there as well, because you're going to know about them and what they do, even though they're not the main parts of the digestive system. They are the accessory parts. Do they work together with the digestive system? Okay. All right. So that's what they are. All right. Any other questions? Let's see. We got a couple here. Can you type Can you type the phases on the chat? Okay. Yeah, I'll type them on here. I said ingestion is the first one. Okay. And then I'm writing here as I'm going back here too. So um, the phase is very good. I could put them in the chat so you can write these down and look at them. Movement is the other one. I'll just say you could be writing these down. All right. Is the next one digestion and absorption. Okay, there they go. Ingestion, movement, digestion, absorption are going to be your main phases. And then it also goes into further digestion. That is, I'll put further digestion as the last one here. So as you see, further digestion. And that's actually going into solid waste. Okay, that's what that means there too. All right, guys. Just another thing when you're in the chat rooms, please don't talk to one another saying how you guys doing, hi, what's up, and all that kind of stuff. I'm just here to see who's here and you are to ask questions. I don't need anyone chatting on the side. Don't make me screenshot it and have to turn it in or anything like that. So make sure you keep it keep it to a minimum there and make sure you are focusing on what I'm saying or interact with me. Okay, so this is the best way to interact while we're talking about the digestive system. Okay, all right. I already talked about the main parts: the mouth, the pharynx, the esophagus, stomach, small intestines, and large intestines. And I also talked about the accessory parts. The accessory parts are the ones that help during this phase of digestion. So the teeth, the tongue, the salivary glands, the liver, the gallbladder, and the pancreas. Okay. Now, going with the first part is the mouth. Okay, the function of the mouth is where food enters the mouth orally, the oral cavity, and it's for tasting, and it's a mechanical breakdown of food. Okay, what I mean by mechanical is means that you are chewing. Okay, think of a mechanic working on something, like on a part of a car. Mechanic is breaking down, it's chewing, cutting, grinding, tearing that food, mixing, and before it is actually getting pushed to the next layer or chemical phase of it. Secretion of salivary glands are also part of the mouth, which help break down some of those foods. So the saliva in your mouth, they call it the salivary amylase. That's the enzyme that helps break down the saliva, helps break down the food to push it into smaller parts to make it roll going to the next area, going down the esophagus, which we'll eventually get to. All right, the structures in the mouth that aid digestion, like I said, were the teeth for cutting, tearing, crushing, grinding. The salivary glands, they produce and secrete saliva in the oral cavity as well. Okay, so that's where that's included, like I said, and that helps begin digestion of starch into smaller polysaccharides, which are other chemicals that help push that into chemical digestion, which will be the next phase. So this is still mechanical digestion, but these are in the mouth, the teeth and salivary glands are the two main parts where it starts there. Okay, your tongue actually plays a role in this too. It mixes and rolls food into tiny mashed up bits, okay? And they call that the bolus. Okay, that's a name for it, it's a scientific name. It pushes the bolus towards the pharynx, all right, which is your throat, and into the esophagus when swallowing. Okay, so your tongue helps mix and roll and bashes up your food into smaller bits, and those bits are called the bolus. Okay, all right, that's the name for that. Any other questions here? Let's see. I'm just keeping on seeing if there's any other questions while I'm talking about some of these things on the digestive system. All right. Now, the mechanisms of swallowing, okay, is swallowing is a coordinated activity of the tongue, all right, or the soft palate, the pharynx, and the esophagus. Now, phases for swallowing, food is pushed into the pharynx by the tongue. Okay, the pharynx is the back of your throat. Okay, that's that area. Okay, voluntarily. Okay, well done voluntarily, and the tongue blocks the mouth. Okay, so your tongue actually blocks the mouth, so it's actually protects the mouth area. All right. And the larynx rises. The larynx is actually your Adam's apple, this area right here. Okay, so the throat and the pharynx and larynx are next to each other. They're parts of the throat. All right, so the larynx rises, so the epiglottis, which is a flap of tissue in the back of your throat, okay, it opens and closes the trachea. That's like your windpipe. Okay, so your windpipe for breathing when we're talking about, we'll get into respiratory system, the trachea is important there. The esophagus and trachea are kind of, we're within the same areas, but they do two different functions. Okay, so the epiglottis is a flap of tissue. Okay, it opens and closes the trachea, and that's for breathing when we get into the respiratory system. All right. Now I'm going to talk about the esophagus next. As food travels from breaking them down from your teeth, from cutting and chewing, and then from your saliva, kind of rolling it up to the pharynx and the larynx, it's going to go down this long tube called the esophagus. So it's a straight muscular tube that is about 10 inches long. Okay, so 10 inches, probably about that long from up here to within your chest cavity. All right, so that's where food travels down. All right, your esophagus, it takes about 4 to 8 seconds for it to pass through to the stomach, for it to come down that tube. Okay, it's always good to chew your food. I remember growing up, my parents saying chew your food 100 times before swallowing. So, usually chewing your food multiple times before swallowing so you don't choke on your food. All right, so let's see. I have a couple questions here while I'm talking here. Okay, how does the esophagus work? Okay, I'm on the esophagus right now. Okay, um, so I'm talking about it. It is the muscular tube after foods pass through the throat and from cutting and grinding. So it's a straight muscular tube that connects the mouth to the stomach. Like I said, it takes about 4 to 8 seconds for the food to pass, and it contains smooth muscles that contract in waving motion. Okay, and they call that peristalsis. Now, peristalsis propels food and liquid slowly down the esophagus into the stomach. Okay, so peristalsis is the smooth muscles that help push it. They actually, when you're swallowing, okay, the food's going down your esophagus. These smooth muscles called peristalsis are actually like little wavy muscles that are pushing that food down, so it propels it and liquids slowly the esophagus to the stomach. So there's liquid from your saliva help pushing it as well too. So it's actually working together. Okay. All right. So that's the esophagus and the peristalsis. All right. Before we get into the next one with the stomach, hopefully I answered your question there. Okay. All right. Um, the stomach is the next phase, or where the next area where food goes. It is a J-shaped muscular sac for the stomach. It has inner folds that increase the surface area of the stomach. All right, so the folds help are lined with it, and the stomach actually is responsible. It churns and grinds together the bolus, those tiny bits of food, into smaller pieces. Okay, those inner folds in the stomach, along with the pieces of food. So they churn and grind together from that wavy motion. So food is mixed with gastric juices. So there's a gas in our, or there's a chemical in our stomach called hydrochloric acid, along with other enzymes. They're secreted by the stomach walls. So the HCl, that's another name for hydrochloric acid. The hydrochloric acid helps break down food and kills bacteria that came along with the food. So a lot of your food do have bacteria. Even some of your clean foods do have bacteria on them. But we have this chemical in our body, this enzyme, this hydrochloric acid, along with enzymes that help keep us safe. It helps break down the other bacteria that are harmful from our bodies. So that's what the function of the stomach does. So those are some of the main key parts to the stomach. Okay. All right. Just going back and checking, see if there's any more questions as I'm continuing on here. All right. So along with other enzymes in the stomach, there's one called pepsin, and it's a major enzyme in the stomach. It's like Pepsi with the letter N at the end of it. So pepsin is the name of this major enzyme, and pepsin converts proteins into peptides, okay, or chemicals in the presence of HCl, which is the hydrochloric acid. All right, so that is a good one to know, is pepsin. There's also mucus within the stomach that lubricates food and protects the gastric linings from strong digestive juices as well. And the stomach converts the bolus, that's some of those little bits of food, all right, into a liquid called chyme. Chyme. Chyme is the name for that. It's another function there. After 4 hours of mechanical and chemical digestion. That's how long it takes. It takes some time, 4 hours, for that to turn into chyme. Okay, this mixed process here. All right, and then the chyme is passed through into the next area, which will be the small intestines. Okay, which I'm going to get into next. So that's some of the main functions of the stomach. The pepsin, the chyme, it's J-shaped. Okay, it has hydrochloric acid along with enzymes that help keep bacteria out. So those are some things which are happening in the process of the stomach as food travels throughout the body. Okay, all right. All right, moving on to the next part, the small intestines. Actually, it's kind of funny. Small intestines is really not small at all. All right, it's thin. Okay, it's opposite of the large intestines. They could have been oppositely named, but it's actually longer in length. So it could be up to 20 feet long, but it's really thin and skinny. All right, so it's coiled. It's a coiled tube below, beneath the stomach, is what it is. And it has three main parts. I'll mention the three main parts, but the only part that I want you to focus on is the upper part of the small intestine. It's called the duodenum. All right, the upper part of the small intestines, the duodenum is about 10 inches, and it connects directly from the stomach. So it's connected to the stomach, whereas the stomach is pushing it into the upper part, where the digestive juices from the pancreas and liver combine with chyme, making it thin and watery. All right. All right. The duodenum is the next part of the small intestine. It's about 8 feet long, and the ileum is the last part, which is about 12 feet long. So they're rather long, and they're just getting pushed through these parts. You don't have to learn these parts in detail, but the duodenum is the first part that it goes to. It's the upper part, the smallest part. So that's where digestive juices combine with chyme, and it makes it like thinner. It makes it waterier in that part of the small intestines. Now, the other main importance of the small intestines, it is the site is the greatest amount of site of digestion and absorption. So that's the site of digestion and absorption. The most amount of digestion and absorption of what's happening, how it's turning and mixing and turning into watery substance, is happening right there in the small intestines. Okay, so that is one of the keys there. All right, any other questions so far? Just checking back and forth here as I continue on. All right, we're good? All right, excellent. All right, continuing with the small intestines. It takes about 8 hours to complete this journey as food travels. Okay, 8 hours for it to get to that point. All right, so it's quite a long time for that food to sit and kind of wait. Okay, the mucosa is the inner wall. It secretes several enzymes that act on the food. All right, and when the pancreatic enzymes are emptied into this area here. Now, digestive nutrients are absorbed through intestinal walls. So the digested nutrients are also absorbed in the small intestines. So then their absorbed materials cross the mucosa and the blood to other parts for storage, and then further chemical changes within the body. So basically, it's mixing with other enzymes. It's being absorbed in the intestinal wall. It's turning into watery substances. So it takes a rather long time, about 4 to 8 hours, for it to complete this journey. All right. Continuing still with the small intestines, it has folder inner walls that are covered with finger-like projections called villi or villus. Now, each villi or villus has tinier projections called microvilli, really small, micro meaning small, that absorbs digested food. And villi and microvilli increases the surface area of the small intestine for greater absorption. So remember, peristalsis was the muscles that inside the esophagus and other parts to help that wavy motion to push it through. Peristalsis uses those muscles in the small intestines, moves the undigested food to the large intestines, which will be the next part where food will be going to. Okay, all right. So movement of the small intestines. Some of the movement is for mixing, that's contracting, and that occurs in the small intestines. Secretion, where things are liquefied and lubricated and digested. All right, and digestion is mechanical and chemical during these phases here. Okay, and absorption is the movement from the tract into circulation of the movement. Circulation, absorption means is movement and is circulating. And an elimination is waste products being removed from the body as well. Okay, being removed from it. All right. Now, as food goes into the next section here, it is called the large intestines. Just going back to see if there's any questions so far for today. Okay. It is the large intestines is also known as the colon, is another name for it. Now, it is large in diameter, okay, but it's shorter in length. It's only about 5 feet, so it's opposite of the small intestine. Remember, small intestine is much larger. It's 20 feet long. Large intestine is a lot smaller or shorter. It's 5 feet long. But how the large intestine gets its name is because it's a lot thicker. Okay, it's larger in diameter. And the small intestines is a lot thinner. Okay, so those are two ways to identify them. Now, water is absorbed from the undigested food, making the waste harder until it becomes a solid. Okay, and waste stays in this area from like 10 to 12 hours, pretty much half your day right there in the large intestines after you eat something. Okay, all right, so that is the large intestines. Now, the large intestines water or waste is pushed into an expanded portion called the rectum of the large intestines. As it becomes solid, your waste, okay, it's become, remember, going liquidy water like, now it's becoming more pushed through as solid waste. Okay, so solid waste stays in the rectum until it is excreted through the anus as feces, okay, as you go to the bathroom. And the appendix, which is on your right side, okay, of the small intestines, it also helps in this process as well too. Okay. All right. Now, I mentioned some of the accessory organs that help with the process. So that's pretty much as it leaves the large intestines, it leaves through the rectum and anus, and then it goes out. So that's the travel from the mouth all the way through as a waste. So it goes in the mouth. We use mechanical and chemical digestion, and it goes through the pharynx and all the way down to the esophagus to the stomach to the small intestines to large, and then out as waste. But these other organs are also very key, which help with the process of the breakdown of the food. So you got to know some of these as well, and you should include these in your project. After I'm done going over these, then I'll talk about your project and what you should be doing. So I mentioned it earlier in the segment here, just as a quick briefing. Do you have any questions so far just about the digestive system? It's time to ask right now, but I'll answer questions as I continue on. So I'm almost finished here. We're on our segment of just the lecture part, and then I'll talk about the project and assignments for this week. Okay. All right. So the accessory organs, they produce or store enzymes that help for digestion. Okay, so that's what they do. They help. They're accessory organs. They're not the main parts of the digestive system, but they're accessory organs. So they help store the enzymes and produce the enzyme. So your liver is actually one of them. It's the largest gland of the body, and it stores vitamins A, D, E, and K. Those are vitamins. But vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K are also very important for storage in the liver. So it stores sugar and glycogen in that area. All right, and it produces something called bile. You probably have heard of that before. bile, bile. It is watery. It's greenish substance what the liver produces. So when it secretes bile to the gallbladder through a cystic duct, that's what it does. So it actually pushes it through to the gallbladder. So bile is like a watery greenish substance. You might have heard of that, and that's produced. It's a production from the liver. Okay, so that's one of its main keys there, along with some of the vitamins. Okay, so it's actually the largest gland in our body. Our liver is a gland. All right. The gallbladder is the next accessory organ I'm going to talk about, what helps in the aid for digestion or helps out with digestion. It stores water or stores bile in between meals for the gallbladder, like I mentioned. It secretes bile to the duodenum, that was the upper part of the small intestines, through the bile duct during mealtime. Bile contains salts and bile salts, pigments, cholesterol, and something called phospholipids, which is another type of enzyme. All right, and bile is actually pretty much is not an enzyme. So it's what they call an emulsifier, which is not an enzyme. And emulsifiers dissolves fat into watery contents of the intestines. So that is what that does. Okay, questions on the gallbladder or that? I'm not sure what you're asking there. Is that Gus, I believe? I don't have any. I don't know if you're asking a question on here. I'm just going back, seeing some of the things from the live chat. Okay, moving on from the gallbladder. The next accessory organ is the pancreas. Okay, and the pancreas produces a juice that contains enzyme called amylase and insulin to break down carbohydrates, fats, and proteins in that area. Okay, and it secretes the juices into the duodenum through the pancreatic duct. All right, so the pancreas produces a juice that contains enzymes. Like I said, those enzymes are amylase and insulin for the breakdown of fats and proteins, what the pancreas does. Okay, so that's another important accessory organ. So you got three so far. That would have been the gallbladder, the liver, and the pancreas. These all aid for them. Okay, so those are the three main parts of that. I'm gonna wait till do this other part for tomorrow. I'll talk about a little bit on the excretory system, or tomorrow, Wednesday, when we meet next, and that'll kind of work together with some of these parts here. But the path of digestion, as I review everything one more time, food starts in the mouth. It's broken down chemically, mechanically, then chemically through the pharynx, and then going down the long tube called the esophagus, where it's peristalsis, with the muscles, the smooth muscle cells that help break down that food into smaller particles and push it along into the stomach, where it's mixed with hydrochloric acid and it helps to absorb some of that food and fight off any bacteria that may enter. So that's where the stomach stores that food. All right, and then it pushes it into the small intestines. Food enters the small intestines through the duodenum, that area, and it becomes into a watery substance. That's where water is absorbed, and absorption takes place the most in the small intestines, where it's into a more of a watery form. Then it's pushed into the large intestines, where it's stored there. And that also works again with parts of the pancreas and the liver to help with the secretion, and then pushed into as a solid waste out through the rectum and anus. And so that is the path of food from start to finish. Okay. All right. Any other questions here? Oh, okay. Somebody asked here, can you repeat the liver part? Yes, let me go back to the liver. Thank you for asking about that. Okay, what you need to know about the liver, it's the largest gland of the body. Okay, and it's an accessory organ. Okay, all right, so it helps out with digestion. It's not the main one of the main functions or main parts of the digestive system, but it helps with the breakdown. All right. It stores vitamins A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K. So it acts as storage. It also stores sugar and something called glycogen. All right. All right. And it produces bile. Okay. Bile is a watery greenish substance. Okay. And it secretes bile to the gallbladder. So that's what you got to know about that. So largest gland, and it produces bile, and then and sugars, it stores sugars. So the bile is probably the one of the main parts of what it does, because that bile is also used along with the gallbladder, and also pushing through to the duodenum through the bile duct, especially during while you're eating. Okay. All right. Or where that food's getting absorbed. Okay. Any other questions so far? All right. Did I answer that? All right. Excellent. All right, now I'm going to explain your assignments in your project. I covered what I needed to cover the first segment of this live section, and I also did that earlier today too. So usually, like I said, the first 20, 30 minutes or so. Um, if you forget, to learn, listen on, it's usually the first 20 or 30 minutes of the live stream. I'm kind of going over the vocabulary, the highlights of the parts, the functions, which you need to know about the digestive system. Okay. Looks like that was you, Vicente. Okay, so you were the one on the liver part. So hopefully you got that down. I think I got a thumbs up on you there. So hopefully you got that down. If you have any more questions, Vicente, on the liver or gallbladder, just go ahead and type in the sidebar. So what you need to know. Okay, your assignment. You have a brain pop this week through Friday. Remember, we do not have school Friday. Okay. So us teachers will not be on our computers on Friday, but you still can turn your project in on Friday. Your project will give you an extra day to get it turned in. Okay. So don't forget, we won't have school Friday for us teachers, but you could still submit your work that you need to get done for this week. All right, so you have a brain pop on the digestive system, okay, and you have a project to do on what you're gonna do is a travel brochure describing the parts of the digestive system like you're going on vacation and picking up a travel brochure going somewhere. Okay? Okay. All right. Oh, looks like somebody wrote here. Is that you, Vicente? You need some for the gallbladder. Okay, I'll go over the gallbladder here again. All right, so let's take a look here at the gallbladder. All right, the gallbladder stores bile, is what that does. Remember, the liver produces bile, the gallbladder stores the bile, okay, between meals, and then secretes the bile through the bile duct, okay? All right, so just got to know that the gallbladder, it basically stores and secretes the bile, okay, which is the type of is a watery greenish substance, okay, what it helps for the digestion process. Okay, these areas are like secretion, they do secreting, they do storing, they do producing. So nothing gets pushed or moved through there. Food doesn't enter the gallbladder, food doesn't enter the liver. These are areas where things are kind of secreted and stored in these areas. Okay, hopefully that answered your question there on that. Okay, moving on. Okay, going back to the project that I was just explaining here to you guys here. So you are creating a project on a travel brochure. Okay, did you get that? Okay, looks like you got a thumbs up there too. You got that. Excellent. You're creating a travel brochure. Now, the travel brochure could just be a piece of paper. You could fold it up. You could just be like a piece of paper like this. I have just a regular piece of paper with attendance on it. You can make it like a foldable, fold it three ways, like a brochure, kind of like that. You can do something similar to that, and take a picture of it. So you're focusing on the digestive system. You're going through each part of the digestive system, okay? As like food travels, think about you going on a vacation, maybe with your family or friends, and going to Disney World. Like think of places that are pretty popular tourist destinations, like Universal, Disney, the beach, maybe like New York or California, other places that have other sightseeing things to see. Okay, even France, like for the Eiffel Tower or the pyramids of Egypt. These are some tourist attractions from around the world where people want to go see certain things. So you are talking about how the food starts in the mouth and then explaining the parts, how it travels to the body, just like you are taking a trip and going somewhere. So make it interesting, make it fun, make it creative. You could include some of those places and parks, relating those foods like you're going on vacation. So you can put it in like a paragraph form or a travel brochure form. Be creative as you could be. Okay. Um, let me see here. I had an example of some other things I wanted to just mention on them. Let's see if I can pull one up here. Of a travel brochure. Let's see, that wasn't that one. Maybe it was this one. Okay, I'm just giving you some ideas here. So think of like trendy spots, like I mentioned, exciting activities the system contains. Okay, like for each part. Okay, of the body system we're studying right now. We're just studying on the digestive system. Okay, so so again, you will see how they nourish and certain things. So like think about like talk about how food is like it's going to Disney World or going to the beach. Like you could use those as part of your story of the way food travels, like a travel brochure. Because a travel brochure basically is a piece of paper or a magazine that tells you where certain things are. Okay, where there's certain things are located. It's like a map to Disney World for certain rides or whatever. Okay, so that's what that means. Something here. Okay. All right. Let's see. It looks like Vicente has a question about the brain pop. Okay, brain pop. Yes, I just assigned it, Vicente, and it's called digestive system. So go under Clever. Make sure you log in through Clever. Go in that way through Clever, and it's under digestive system. It's assigned 10 questions. Watch the video, and there's some vocabulary with that as well. Okay. Anything else, question-wise, about the brochure? I'm going to put that up sometime this afternoon here too, of things to do for the digestive system travel brochure. Okay, so you're right. You're doing research on the way food travels to the body, starting from the mouth, going through the esophagus, stomach, small and large intestines, and through the rectum as waste. And that's basically like how you're going to travel with different places wherever you highlight or places of your interest along with the journey. So you can include that as in your paper with Disney World or the beach or where those locations are. So kind of make it fun, make it interesting, make it creative, okay, in your travel brochure on the way food travels, kind of relating it to that. Any other questions, comments? Okay, I only have a couple people in here, and I'm probably going to cut it a little short for today. So I will be back on here at 5 to 6 o'clock tonight as well to go over anything online. Kind of talk about some of the main parts I talked about earlier on the lesson part, along with answering student questions during this time. So you could always email me through email or through Microsoft Teams. Okay, any other questions? I'll be just hanging on here for a few more minutes here probably, and then going on from there. Okay, any other questions? What are the people that are in here? Like I said, there's only a few people. Okay, all right, gonna do the brain pop now. Good job, Vicente. Nice. All right, have a good day. We'll see. Looks like you're checking out here. Like I said, I'm gonna be out here for a few more minutes here too. If there's no more questions, like I said, there's only a couple people in here. If you don't have any questions, then you could leave. Okay. Okay, guys. Well, if there's no more questions, like I said, there's only a couple people in here. Looks like somebody else just joined. If you want to say hello, I'm going to be wrapping up. I presented in the early part of the session on the digestive system, talked about its parts and functions, and then told about what you need to do. And I'll be putting that on Microsoft Teams for your assignment for Friday. Okay, on a travel brochure. Okay, so make sure to be on alert for that. And then also the brain pop due on Friday too. So you have a few things for this week, assignment wise. All right. Other than that, if there's no other questions, I'm going to be signing off for today. So make sure you can go back and listen to the first two of these. Like I said, the first 20, 30 minutes, kind of talk about the details of what we went over, like in your class, like the lecture part. And then the second part's usually me talking about the assignment and what you need to do for Friday. So you'll have Friday to get stuff complete. Okay. Okay. Well, I am going to sign off for today. If there's no other questions, give a chance for you guys to. Oh, hello. Okay, looks like somebody's in here. Gavin, do you have a question? We're just coming in to say hello. Okay. All right. Goodbye. All right. I know you were in my morning class there. Okay. Well, I'm going to be signing off for today. So I'll be back on 5 to 6 tonight if you want to check in, if you have anything else. Oh, okay. Gavin, another question here. Can you tell us more about the project? Yeah, I'm going to be putting it out on Microsoft Teams. So check today. This afternoon it'll be out. Okay. What your project's going to entail. Okay. I'll have it out this afternoon on what to do. All right. For your project. And I'll be stating that later on. Okay, and I'll be on Teams. All right, very good. All right, guys, well, have a good afternoon, rest of your day there. Hopefully, you get a chance to go outside. Looks like another wonderful day here. in the neighborhood. So have fun, and I will be in touch with you guys. So I'll be back on 5 to 6 tonight. All right, have a good afternoon. Goodbye.